Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Grant. I'm the chairman of the Holocaust Memorial Center Zeckelman Family Campus Board of Directors. And on behalf of the board and everybody at the center, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming today to remember the approximately 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust and the heroism of those who resisted throughout the war. Over the years, I've had the honor to stand before this gathering and offer greetings to our visitors and discuss the importance of Yom HaShoah and the Holocaust Memorial Center. Each time, I have stressed how important observing Yom HaShoah is not just for the Jewish community, but for our entire community. During our lifetime, we will face the eventual loss of the remaining Holocaust survivors. As each year passes, that reality grows closer. This year, however, seems different to me. While the loss of the remaining Holocaust survivor community can never be minimized, ongoing current events and a rising tone of anti-Semitism makes this Yom HaShoah that much more important. As we honor survivors, their families, and the memory of those lost during the atrocious events of the Holocaust, we must also recognize that religious persecution is spreading throughout parts of the world at alarming rates. Jewish students feel threatened by anti-Israeli protests and the BDS movement gaining traction throughout many universities. Jews are currently leaving Europe, especially France, in record numbers, and moving to Israel to pursue religious freedom and safety for themselves and their families. And sadly, Israel remains surrounded by hostile and unstable forces threatening its existence. Yom HaShoah should not only be about reflection, but also about education. We need to study and understand the events of the past. At the same time, we must realize that there are potentially dangerous and eerily similar events ongoing in different parts of the world that have the potential to cause oppression, destruction, and hate. We cannot be complacent, which is why gatherings like this, at a place like this, are critically important. The Holocaust Memorial Center teaches the lessons of the Holocaust and fights against intolerance. We must take these lessons to heart so that the phrase "never again" becomes a reality not just inside these walls, but throughout the world. Thank you.
I ask everyone to please rise now for the posting of the colors by our Jewish war veterans as we reflect on the contributions of those who served, who gave their lives, and those who are serving our country today.
Please remain standing and join me in the singing of God Bless America and Hatikva. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home. Kolot balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi omia, ulfatei mizrach kadima, ain letzion Sophia, od lovda tikvatenu, atikva bat shnot alpayin, lihiotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, lihiotam chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim.
You may be seated. Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Bergman. I'm one of the rabbis at Adat Shalom Synagogue, and I am the son and son-in-law of Holocaust survivors. I'd like to tell you the story of Passover the way it should have gone. We were slaves in Egypt. We were taken out of Egypt, and the next day we arrived in the promised land where we had peace and security for the rest of eternity. That's the story of what it should have been. But that wasn't the story, and that wasn't the story for the survivors either. World War II ended in 1945, but the Holocaust didn't. The survivors went to their homes after the Holocaust, after the war. Sometimes there was no home. Sometimes there was someone living there. My father, he went back to his village in the Carpathian Mountains, and his neighbors are living in the home. And he said, "I'd like my home." And they said, "It's not your home. You're dead. You are dead." And my father waited for his family to come home, but when it was clear that they were not coming home and that the Russians were on their way, they may have been in the Allies right up until then, but then they weren't. He knew it was time to go. And his experience was shared by so many. In fact, there's a story of a survivor who went to a travel agent in Europe, and he said, "I want a ticket to Australia." And the man said, "Isn't that really far?" And he said, "When you have no home, far from where?" The survivors who wanted to go to Israel, but was blockaded by the British. There was no home, there was nowhere to go, though we were very fortunate that the Americans and the American Army really did so much once the war was over. It would have been nice in the 30s had they taken more of our people in, but at the end of the war, they tried to do resettling. They even printed a volume of Talmud for the survivors who had been yeshiva bachers, so they could learn, because Talmud and Torah and Jewish study is a home for us even when we don't have a home. And the Americans understood that. They brought back a lot of Jewish books to America. The Library of Congress has the single biggest collection of Jewish books outside of Hebrew University's National Library. So the Americans really got that, and I am eternally grateful for that. We have a state of Israel. I think about in the 1930s, had there been a place to go, we're not here to commemorate loss. This building doesn't exist. The lives of so many could have been saved. And I think about how important for us as a Jewish people, not just to remember what happened to us, but that we are a Jewish people and we are each other's home. Regardless of whatever differences we have between denominations, whatever your politics might be, We are a people together. We are fortunate to have a state of Israel that, again, regardless of your politics, every Jew who ever lived before 1948 would have loved to have fought politics with you. Would have been geschmacht for them to fight over Israel. Would have been science fiction, but they would have loved to do it. When we left Egypt, we should have gone straight to the Promised Land, and we should never have had to worry, but instead we come up to the sea, and it's blocked. And it looks hopeless again, but we don't go over it, we go through the water. And this is the key to the Jewish people. We are never going to get over the Holocaust. We are never going to get over our sense of loss, but as a people, we can get through it, and someday we will make it to the Promised Land. Thank you.
Although Steve and I both have a Holocaust family history, what really compels us to support this community institution is seeing the important work that it does every day as tens of thousands of visitors annually are educated about the Holocaust. And I also must add, as a docent, I am privileged to see that work firsthand. The Holocaust Memorial Center enables us to fulfill the responsibility to remember and teach about the Holocaust, as well as remember those who perished and those who survived. Through its exhibits and tours, the HMC speaks for those who are not here to tell the story, and it also speaks for those who cannot bear the pain of telling the story. When the survivor generation is no longer with us, because of the resources and education provided here, we, the next generation, can take up the mantle of responsibility to tell future generations about this tragic period in history. Our visitors here learn what happens when hatred and bigotry go unchecked and rise to be supported by a nation, its military, and its people. The importance that each of us has in taking responsibility for what happens in our local communities is a focal message of the tours here at the Holocaust Memorial Center. And through your support of the HMC, you are all making a difference by allowing this museum and resource center to continue its mission of Holocaust education. And in so doing, you are making our world a better and more tolerant place to live.
This Wednesday, we will honor Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day, for what occurred more than 70 years ago. Last week, as Rabbi Bergman noted, we remembered that more than 3,000 years ago, we were slaves in Egypt, but now we are free. And every Passover, we fulfill the commandment to tell our children and our children's children of our past tragedies as a people, but we are also obligated on that Seder to reflect on how far we have come. I will never forget sitting with my mother Henrietta 20 years ago at a model Seder at Hillel Day School, watching my daughter Jessica, who now has her own son, less than a year old, and at that time she was with her fellow first graders singing the familiar melodies of the Haggadah. My mother leaned over to me and said, "Hitler did not win." So today, as we remember our brethren that perished and remember the ongoing pain that continues for those that survived, let us also remember how far we've come since those dark days. As the Italian journalist Giulio Miati, who writes regularly for the Wall Street Journal, put it, what other people on earth has recorded so many miracles? He wrote, imagine that helpless Jew facing the Nazi official, deciding if he shall live or if he shall die. Could that helpless Jew have imagined that in our time, Jews would be flying F-16s in the skies over Israel and Poland? Could that helpless Jew have imagined that Israel's population would be 9 times that of 1948? Could that helpless Jew have imagined that Israel would produce more scientific papers per capita than anywhere else in the world, or have the highest ratio of university degrees to its population, or proportionally the largest number of startup companies, or the highest percentage of home computers? Could that helpless Jew have imagined that today we would have in our country so many Jewish senators, representatives, Supreme Court justices, and civic leaders willing to disagree publicly with the President of the United States? Could that helpless Jew have imagined that Israel would be the nation with the largest immigrant absorbing model on earth? On Yom HaShoah that begins this Wednesday night, let us remember the Holocaust that befell our people just 70 years ago. But let us also remember that Hitler did not win, nor did Pharaoh or Haman or Amalek before them. As we pledge to recall the Holocaust for generations to come, let us too remember that we were slaves, but now we are free. I would now like to call up Michael Weiss.
We, the members of the Scharensappleite, the few who are left of us, we are the orphans of the Holocaust, who went through the gates of Auschwitz, who seen the gas chambers, the crematoriums, gathered here for Easter with our children, with our grandchildren, with our families, with the members of our community. We are here to remember. I'm sure with the survivors, we do and will remember that day forever when the German Nazis forced us out of our homes, put us in ghettos, and took us to Auschwitz, Buna Majdanek, and many other concentration camps where we found killing factories where they murdered our innocent holy martyrs by poison gas, and they took them to the crematoriums where they burned them to ashes. And today, all what is left of European Jewish life, ashes and cemeteries. Every inch of the ground of Europe is cursed because it's soaked with Jewish blood. Every silent barrack in the hundreds of concentration camps are crying out with pain of its victims. When the wind blowing over Europe will forever carry the smoke and the ashes of the 6 million innocent people and children who were murdered by the Nazis. 71 years after the Shoah, our ears still hear the cries from the gas chambers. Our noses can still smell the stench from the crematoriums. During the Holocaust years, most of the countries in Europe betrayed our people. Many countries helped in the murder of the 6 million of our holy innocent martyrs. Even the Western countries closed their borders to us, to the Jewish people. On this day of Easter, we will remember the righteous Gentiles. They put their lives and the lives of their families in jeopardy to hide and save Jewish lives. Like there was a German general, Schindler, who saved 1,200 Jews' lives. Raoul Wallenberg, a Swedish diplomat who finished college at the University of Michigan, he was sent to the consulate in Budapest, where he saved tens of thousands of Jewish lives. Each year, I hear more and more children and grandchildren of righteous Gentiles are honored at the Holocaust Center in Jerusalem, at Yad Vashem, and in many other Holocaust centers. 71 years after liberation, for us, the survivors, the tragedy of the Holocaust is not just part of history. It is a wound, it's a cancer that is in our neshumas, our souls, which it continues to hurt. It will never heal. And then everybody knows that everybody dies sometime. But God forbid, if a father or a mother or a family member dies, there is a levaya, there is a funeral. And there is a kaiver, there is a grave. But our 6 million tzaddikim, what includes our tatas and mamas, it includes our children, it includes our people, never had a funeral or a grave. Their graves are in heaven, in Gan Eden, and in our hearts. We Jews believe that the neshama of the souls never dies. And the 6 million souls at this year's service are done here with us, with Natan, with the Father of God. I would like to finish with a quote from one of our great prime ministers of Israel, Menachem Begin. In 91 in Yerushalayim, we had the worldwide gathering of survivors. And the prime minister, in his goodbye speech to us, finished, and I quote, "And today from this podium, in this hall, this solemn day, I vow to you that as long as there is an Israel, no Jew will again be forced to wear a yellow star or be tattooed with a number. And I vow to you that there will forever be an Israel. So these horrors will never be witnessed again. May God give his people, his children, strength. May God bless his people and his children with peace."
Yeah. Turns out Mr. Weiss is a landsman of my father. That was extraordinary. Thank you. You know, places are really only holy because of the people who are in it, and today there is an elevated level of holiness. So we, the survivors of the Holocaust, our children and grandchildren, gather together with those we love so much to remember and honor the 6 million who were murdered by those who sought to exterminate our people. We will be lighting the candles in the honor of those who perished and with optimism for the future. The first candle will be lit by Edith and Marvin Kozlowski in memory of the 6 million who never had a funeral, who are buried in unmarked graves, whose ashes are scattered to the winds, and those whose resting places are yet to be revealed. We are their children who could not say Kaddish for them at the time of their deaths. The second candle will be lit by Ruth Adler Schnee and Charles Adler in memory of the 1.5 million children, the innocent and blameless whose lives were cut short. They never had a chance to learn the alphabet, never became a bar or bat mitzvah, never stood under the chuppah. The third candle will be lit by Frieda Fleisch in memory and in honor of those righteous non-Jews who risked everything to save a child, a family, a stranger, in spite of the danger. The fourth candle will be lit by Shoshana and Saul Winkler in memory of the rabbis, teachers, and scholars who were murdered in the gas chambers or by bullets, who were burned in the crematoria or buried in mass graves. The fifth candle will be lit by Eva and Jan Rival in memory of those who survived and have died since the Holocaust. They were our husbands and wives, our mothers and fathers, our dear bubbies and zadies, our children and grandchildren, our friends and our neighbors. The sixth candle will be lit by Esther Zakalik in honor and in memory of the heroes, the partisans, the freedom fighters, and the many Jews who fought and died in the ghettos, the forests of Poland, Slovakia, France, Hungary, Ukraine, and elsewhere. Zita Weber will be lighting the candle. The seventh candle will be lit by Lily and Michael Weiss to mark 7 decades, 70 years since the end of the Holocaust, during which humanity has continued to commit mass murder in spite of our cries of never again. The eighth candle will be lit by Ray and Simon Binky in honor and in memory of the brave Allied armed forces, men and women, Jew and Gentile, who fought against Nazism and defeated Hitler and his Third Reich. The ninth candle will be lit by Edward Melanowski in memory of the founding families of the Holocaust Memorial Center who have passed from our midst. Their vision, commitment, and generosity made possible everything that we do today. We carry on their mission of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world for our future generations. Thank you. I now invite one of our young people here today, Talia Yaari from Michigan Region BBYO, to lead us in the responsive reading of Homesick.
Good afternoon. The author of this poem is unknown, but it is thought to have been written by a child prisoner in the Partisan ghetto. I've lived in the ghetto here more than a year, in Partisan, in the black town now. And when I remember my old home so dear, I can love it more than I did somehow. Ah, home, home, why did they tear me away? Here the weak die as easy as a feather, and when they die forever. I'd like to go back home again. It makes me think of sweet spring flowers. Before, when I used to live at home, it never seemed so dear and fair. I remember now those golden days, but maybe I'll be going there again soon. People walk along the street. You see at once on each you meet that there's a ghetto here, a place of evil and of fear. There's little to eat and much to want, where bit by bit it's horror to live. But no one must give up. The world turns and times change. Yet we all hope the time will come when we'll go home again. Now I know how dear it is, and often I remember it.
I would now like to introduce Esther Lupian, accompanied by Renee Lichtman, who will offer greetings on behalf of the Hidden Children and Child Survivors Association of Michigan.
My name Esther Lupian, and I represent our group Hidden Children and the Child Holocaust Survivor Hidden during the war. We, the children of the Holocaust, never get rid of the memories of the past. Minsk, the capital of Belarus, was occupied by Nazis in June 1941. At this time, I was nearly 5 years old. Minsk ghetto, the biggest in the Soviet Union, existing for 28 months. 100,000 unfortunate local Jews and deported Jews with children from the Western Europe died daily from hunger, cold, disease, and fear. My mom did not know that her 13-year-old son, Gregory, my brother, and her younger brother of 20 years, Isaac, became a member of underground organization, which counted about 300 members, including teens. My brother and my uncle did not survive. They perished. My grandparents were killed with other ghetto inhabitants by Nazi collaborators. My whole big family from my father's side perished either by bullets or in gas chamber vents. From my mom's side, only Mama and I survived by miracles. Belarus liberated in July 3, 1944. I went to elementary school at 8.5 years old. Emigration to the US with my family was a real gift of fate. Our family expanded, and I am happy to say that this Passover, I and my husband Noam celebrated having at the table all 4 generations.
On behalf of Chaim, Children of Holocaust Survivors of Michigan, I am honored and privileged to extend greetings to all of you on this special day. Chaim is an organization composed of children of Holocaust survivors in the Metro Detroit area. For more than 30 years, we have been in existence and actively involved in Holocaust educational programs to help the community remember and teach the Holocaust. These programs have included speakers, lectures, films, and panel discussions. We have also been very instrumental in sponsoring an essay contest to high schoolers around the state. One of our new exhibits is the Portraits of Honor. Please visit the Portraits of Honor here at the museum, which is a tribute to our parents. Also, in regards to the Portraits of Honor, we are pleased to announce today that we now have 550 Holocaust survivors included in the Portraits of Honor. You can see them all through the museum, their photographs. We have added additional 150 survivors to Portraits of Honor exhibit, which is housed downstairs at the Holocaust Memorial Center, as well as online at portraitsofhonor.org. Portraits of Honor includes photographs, biographies, and historical references of our Michigan survivors. After the ceremonies, we will be at the Portraits of Honor exhibit downstairs to show you how the exhibits work. Both my parents were Holocaust survivors. Together, they survived a total of 10 ghettos, work camps, and concentration camps, including Auschwitz and Mauthausen. My mother lost 7 siblings and all her other relatives. 20 years later, she was pleasantly surprised to locate a brother that had fled to Siberia and was living in Israel. So we were excited to have one family member. My father lost all his siblings, 5 siblings, parents, and all his family members. Both my parents experienced numerous and horrific atrocities, including watching all their friends and relatives die and perish in the camps. In spite of all this, they met in Germany, married, had me, moved to the U.S. to start a new life. They learned a new language, a new culture, and worked hard to give their children every opportunity in life that they lost during the war, which they did. My mother is the epitome of a survivor. She is turning 94 this month and is a great-grandmother of 2. In spite of experiencing continued losses, personal and physical, she gets up every morning and tries to maintain a positive attitude. As a child of survivors, we know firsthand that the Holocaust is not just a time in history. Our lives have been shaped by our parents' experience. We understand the destructive power of hatred, prejudice, and firsthand we know what anti-Semitism can do. My parents, like all survivors, are special people. It is our privilege and honor as the second generation to tell their story so the world will never forget. We pledge to you that we will carry on your histories with the hope that the future generations will learn from your experiences. It is also our duty to teach our children the third generation so they may carry the torch. I am proud to say my daughter Shayna, who is here today, is doing just that. Today on Yom HaShoah, we remember the heroism of 6 million who perished during the war and honor those who survived. We are here today to remember and reflect and say never again. I have one last announcement. The program for Holocaust survivors and families will be having its annual Israel Independence Day Cafe Europa lunch. All Holocaust survivors and families are invited to attend. It will take place Monday, May 16th at 1 p.m. at the Prentice Apartments in Oak Park.
Please rise for the memorial prayer. El mole rachamim, shochen b'maromim,
נצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מסעירים את נשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל, אנשים, נשים וטף, שנטבחו ושנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתינם בזיתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ונאמר אמן.
El Malei Rachamim, O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the souls of all our brothers and sisters, the men, women, and children of the house of Israel, who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their spirits live on and their memories endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The eternal God is their inheritance. May they rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated.
אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, באמונה שלמה, בביאת המשיח, ואף על פי שיתממה, עם כל זה אני מאמין, עם כל זה אחכה לו בכל יום שיבוא. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין.
Reflections of a Scared Boy, a Sacred Survivor. He stands in front of his grandchildren. His time with them is so precious. He thinks to himself, never did I believe my life would be so blessed. Kids have very busy lives. He takes whatever opportunity he can to be with them. He focuses on their world today. His goal, to spark their undivided attention, to have them know the untold story. When they ask him about his past, he sees their innocent stares looking at him, anticipating a personal account of his childhood pain and nightmares. He always pauses. He thinks very carefully about his words in order to not scare them. How can he explain the horror, the deep scars he carries, fragile and still so easy to bleed, without frightening them? How does he tell his innocent grandchildren about the constant fear that lived in the pit of his stomach, the nauseating kind, living in a death camp, praying to survive as they look into his eyes, so fortunate and carefree? How does he tell his grandchildren about losing family and loved ones in a matter of seconds, witnessing the Nazi Germans play their death games by simply moving their thumbs so easily in their white gloves, laughing and killing whoever they choose, when our kids are surrounded by only protection and love? How does he tell them about the odor of burning flesh, of the non-escapable stench that never subsided, when our kids only smell the chicken soup cooking on the stove, the fresh flowers, and the changing seasons? How does he tell them about the tortures and the killings, the many innocent people stacked like sardines, dead and lifeless, brushed up against him, waking up not knowing who was dead and who was alive, when our kids only know about being tucked under their comforters, warm and safe, with nothing other than to dream? How does he tell them about how babies were killed, mothers weeping, kneeling to the Germans, begging while their child is torn away, shot before their eyes, when our kids have never had a day fearing mother would be gone? How does he tell them about Mengele, the monster who did diabolical experimentation on us Jews, how the Nazis were drinking and singing around the table while our family was being exterminated? How can he express the incomprehensible trauma of seeing so many thousands of dead bodies on the ground at such a young, impressionable age? The fear he had, not knowing whether he would be alive tomorrow, while our kids have never pondered such a morbid thought. How does he tell them about Auschwitz-Birkenau, the efficient killing machine, the unfathomable, where mothers, babies, children, the weak, the old, were forced to march to the showers of their death, when our kids' showers provide them with warmth and rejuvenation? How does he tell them about the genocide of 6 million and more, during which our family lost 81, when our kids can happily see all their cousins and family whole, missing none? How does he tell them about the human hunger, his yearning for even just a morsel of food, when our kids have never felt the pain of starvation? How does he continue to tell his story when their gaze becomes frozen? They lower their eyes, they feel saddened and cannot comprehend. Yet, it is crucial to his heritage that the story be told. They need to know about the atrocities that occurred in order for them to speak out, to be the strong voices of the future. The strength to survive those horrors of his childhood is the same strength used today to reluctantly share the plight behind his tears. And with his family forever in his gentle grip, they have now become witnesses too. And so the torch of darkness has now been passed to new generations who will live and grow. My father's survival story is now told. It's now up to me. It's up to you. For this story is to survive, to never be buried. So in the end, this task is really quite small. The hardships have already been suffered. It's now our small task to keep the truth alive. Thank you.
We say Kaddish at the saddest and most painful moments of our lives, but we say it to remind ourselves of how much we loved those we have lost, but also the power, the unbreakable power when we come together. Please rise for the Yom HaShoah Kaddish. We'll say it all together. Yitkadal Auschwitz, V'yitkadash Babayar, Shemei Rabbah Bergen-Belsen, B'alma Divrach Hirutei, Bialystok, B'amlich Malchutei, Buchenwald, B'chayechon V'yomechon Chalmno, V'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, Dachau, B'agalav Yizman Kariv, Kovno, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Olamo Me'ol Maya, Yiparach V'yishtabach, Lords, V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam, Maidanek, V'yitnaseh V'yithadar, Minsk, V'yitalev V'yitalal, Salonika, Shmei Dekudasha Barichu, Sobibor, Le'elah Terezin, Mikol Birchata V'shirata, Treblinka, Tushbechata V'nachamata, Vilna, Demiram V'alma, Warsaw, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen.
You may be seated. Please join me in the singing of the Partisan or lead, the hymn of the Partisans.
Sag nicht keinmal, als du gehst dem letzten Weg, Gott Himmeln bleien, verstellen bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abbeugt und unser treut mir seinen Do. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, es wird abbeugt und unser trott mir seinen Do. Von grünem Palmenland bis weißen Land von Schnee, wir kommen on mit unser Pein, mit unser Weg. Und wohlgefallen sie, so spritz von unser Blut. Sprotzend wird dort unser Gwore, unser Mut. Und wohlgefallen sie, so spritz von unser Blut. Sprotzen wird dort noch von unser Gwore Mut. Es wird die Morgensonn begilden uns dem Heind, und der Nächtenwelt verschwinden mit dem Feind. Und nur versammeln wird die Sonne in den Kajor, wie a Parol, so gehen das Lied von Dor zu Dor. Nur versammeln wie du Sonne in den Kajor, wie a Parol soll sein das Lied von Dor zu Dor. Das Lied geschrieben ist mit Blut und nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht kein Lied von der Feugelauchte frei. Das hat der Volk zwischen Feinden gewählt. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. das hat ein Volk zwischen feindlich gewähnt, das Lied gesungen mit ner Garnes in die Hand. Da sag nicht kein mehr, lass du gehst den letzten Weg, Gott Himmeln bleiene, verstellen bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch uns der Reus gebänkte Show, es wird ein Point an unser Trott mir seinen do. Kommen wird noch uns der Reus gebänkte Show, es wird ein Point an unser Trott mir seinen do.
I'd like to invite up Matt Wolf from the BBYO Michigan region to share a poem.
Hello, I'm Matt Wolf from BBYO Michigan region. This poem was written by Pavel Friedman when he was interned into the Partisan concentration camp. The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow. Perhaps if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone. Such a yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found my people here. The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court, only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
Our closing song is Le Dor Vador, from generation to generation.
Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagir Golecha, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagir Golecha, Netzachim, Kedushatecha naqdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu, mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagid Golecha, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagid Golecha, Ki el Melech Gadol vekadosh ata, Ki el Melech Gadol vekadosh ata. Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagid Golecha, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Le Dor Vador, Nagid Golecha, Le Dor Vador.
Please rise as the colors are retired and wait to leave the auditorium until our Jewish war veterans have exited. On behalf of the Holocaust Memorial Center, I invite anyone who wishes to kindle a personal yahrzeit candle to do so at the memorial tables set up next to the eternal flame. Thank you all for coming.